We're back out here at the OSU Student Farm and we're checking in on our basil crop, and as you can see, it's definitely taken off, and in fact we're starting to get some flower buds. So at this point we want to make sure that we go ahead and harvest. You can see in front of me we have harvested some of it already. However, I wanted to kind of review how we go about harvesting our basil. So basil has opposite leaves. You can see that out of every stem you'll have a leaf that comes out on opposite sides of that stem. So what we're going to do on these mature plants, we're going to take it back to about this 6 to 8 inch height. So basically what we're taking is the upper growth that is the fresher, newer growth, and also doesn't have as much maybe dirt on it that maybe the lower growth does. So we're simply going to go in here and, like I said, take it back significantly. And the nice thing about basil is it's actually going to continue to regrow. So even though it looks like I'm taking a fair amount right now, you can see that on some of that we've actually pruned earlier on, just a week ago, has recovered quite nicely from that. So we've got a few of them trimmed. As you can see, we've got a fair amount to do still ahead of us. But at this point, we want to go ahead and get this inside before it starts wilting down. Now, you do have a little bit of time with basil. Commercially, this is done with specialized equipment where they actually just have sort of a mower that's at that raised height that goes along and cuts it. So they're not necessarily being as selective about where it's being cut at. But again, that's on a commercial production. We are doing this on a smaller scale. So now we're just going to go ahead and get this processed. Now that we've got some of our basil harvested, we're back here at FAPSI, and joining me is Dr. William McGlynn, who is a food scientist who's actually in the horticulture department, but he mainly deals with processing of fruit and vegetable crops. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Casey. Good morning.
Good morning. So
it's a beautiful looking bunch of basil.
Yeah, we were out early harvesting to get it cut fresh. So what's the next step we need to do with it?
So the next step, we are going to take it. We are going to pick the leaves off the stem because we don't want to waste time and effort drying the stems.
Okay.
And we're going to load it up into these trays, and then we're going to wash it. And the reason we wash it is just to get any loose dirt, any bugs out, that sort of thing. And then it will go into the dryer.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about just the washing process. Is there a standard way to wash it? Could we just do it in a bath, or do we need to have running water?
So there are a couple of options. Yeah, you could do it in a some kind of basin or bath, and that would save water. The potential concern there, though, is food safety.
Okay.
So if you have any kind of contamination, if you're using that same water to rinse all the leaves, there's a potential of spreading that contamination to all of the crop. So the safest way to do it is to use just running water.
Okay. All right.
So that's what we're going to do today.
Okay. And then dehydrating. Let's talk about that process. It's not just a matter of cranking up the oven, right?
Well, you can do that, but the goal is to dry it and preserve as many of those flavor compounds, those aroma compounds as we can. And so the way to do that is to dry it as gently as possible. So we're going to be drying it at a relatively low temperature, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a process that's going to take about a day, maybe a little bit longer, day and a half. It's that trade-off between time and temperature. If you dry it at a higher temperature, it's going to take less time, but the quality's not going to be as good.
Okay.
We're trying to maximize the quality.
So when you talk about those oils and those volatives, that's what gives basil its flavor, right?
Exactly
so
right.
That's what we're wanting to hold on to.
That's what makes basil basil.
Okay. So it looks like we've got some of our dehydrated basil here.
Yes, Casey, this is the stuff as it comes out of the dehydrator, our beautiful basil, all nice and dry. And so the next step will be to go ahead and commercially you'd run it through a size reduction machine, a flaker that would basically grind it up just very gently and get it down to that small particle size that you would typically see for sale.
Okay. Now there are some stems on this, and we did kind of de-stem the big stems prior to going in. Is that what you would normally see in a commercial operation, or?
No, in a commercial operation, you would usually de-stem it after it's dried.
Okay.
Just because you can run it through a piece of equipment that will do that automatically, but we don't have that equipment, and it's more efficient just to dry the leaves rather than drying the stems as well. So that's why we did that.
Okay, so in that flaking process, though, we're going to get rid of some of this woodier material and just get
Exactly.
those
We'll
leaves
just
there.
put it through a screen to get rid of some of these larger pieces of stem.
Okay, all right. Well, so next step is basically after flaking is packaging and labeling.
That's right. And then it's ready to go.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.